All right, good morning. It's Mr. Whipple, and I have my presentation here today, my history in a bag. And I have this bag here. It's got the NH on it, and that stands for Nancy Hanks. And Nancy Hanks was the mother of President Abraham Lincoln. And normally, when I say Abraham Lincoln, of course, I mean this guy here with the big giant penny. Right? We all know who Abraham Lincoln is, but um, I think that we need to talk about his mother a little bit because she was a simple person. Abraham Lincoln, of course, grew up to be a great man, a powerful man in American history, but he would not have been anyone without his mother. You know, she raised him, she made him who he was, and I think that it is important to look at her, people like her, to see the effect that they have on the important people in our history. Lincoln would have had something like this to remember his mother by. This is what's called a memento mori, and I have this here. This is a lock of hair that they would have taken from the body of a loved one that had passed away so that they could remember them. A lot of people nowadays, especially like back in the old days, they would have done it with a baby's hair, you know, because they used to have childhood mortality was a lot bigger than, you know, a lot higher than it is now. Excuse me. And, you know, they didn't have photographs or it's some very strange ways to us to try and remember their lost children. But the moment, or their lost ones, but the memento mori, which that's Latin for to remember those that have passed away, um, would have been something that Abraham Lincoln would have had. He would have kept a memento of his mother. One of the things that inspired me to talk about Nancy Hanks was a poem written in this book here called Book of Americans, and it's by a man and woman, a married couple named Benet, Benet, a French pronunciation. And I read this poem, and there's a lot of poems in there that are very inspirational to me that I encourage people to read. But the poem that I've got is here about Nancy Hanks, and I'm going to read it I'm going to share it with you. If Nancy Hanks came back as a ghost, seeking news of what she loved most, she'd ask first, "Where's my son? What's happened to Abe? What's he done?" Poor little Abe, left all alone, except for Tom, who's a rolling stone. He was only 9 the year I died. I remember still how hard he cried. Scraping along in a little shack with hardly a shirt to cover his back and a prairie wind to blow him down, or pinching times if he went to town. You wouldn't know about my son. Did he grow tall? Did he have fun? Did he learn to read? Did he get to town? Do you know his name? Did he get on? And I think that there's so much history wrapped up in this little poem. First off, you know, of course, everybody knows her as Nancy Lincoln because she was Abraham Lincoln's mother, married to Thomas Lincoln, who she mentions in the poem. But first, she was Nancy Hanks. And I think that it's important that we remember where she came from. Born in, it's like part of West Virginia today, but back in the day, it was Virginia before the Civil War. She lived all over the place with uh, different family because, like, her parents would die or her parents passed away. Then she went to live with other people. Then she went to live with other people. She was passed around. Um, it's likely that she was illegitimate, which means her parents weren't married. Um, Lincoln was told otherwise, but it's likely that she was not, or that had not been married. Her parents had not been married. Um, She met Thomas Lincoln. They got married, and of course, he was born in what's Hardin County. We would call it part. Hardin County is smaller than it used to be. I mean, Breckenridge used to be part of Hardin County, but he was born in LaRue County. And it says here in the poem, he was 9 when she died. It's a very young age to lose your mother. Um, she mentions that he lived in the shack. They were very poor. I mean, very poor. His father was illiterate and uneducated. He made money as a laborer. And back then, if you were a white man as a laborer, you had to basically compete with slaves for work, which is why he left Kentucky and went to Indiana. One of the big reasons. It mentions the prairie wind. That's talking about his life in Indiana and Illinois. There's wide open prairies up there, not like Kentucky with the mountains and the hills. And but then she goes, "You wouldn't know about my son. Did he grow tall? Did he have fun?" And of course, these are all things that we know about Lincoln, that he was a very tall man. Some even say that he was tall because of a genetic uh, mutation. Um, they also say that he loved to have fun, he loved to read. And I just think it's really neat how this poem about his mother captures so much about the history of Lincoln, but mostly it shows they were just people, simple people. And yet he grew up to be one of the, mm, arguably one of the greatest presidents of our time. So anyway, I just wanted to share this little bit about Nancy Hanks. I wanted to show you the history in a bag, or however you're going to do it. Um, Thank you very much for paying attention.